We all rely on farmers and ranchers, but farming is riskier than other businesses out there. Crop insurance helps farmers manage their risk. With crop insurance, farmers put skin in the game by paying premiums and shouldering deductibles. That keeps taxpayers from having to pick up the whole bill every time disaster strikes. Today, about 90% of U.S. farmland is insured, providing $100 billion in protection to more than 130 different kinds of crops. It's a testament to the program's success.
Thank you for joining us for our Agri-Pulse Washington Week in Review. I'm Spencer Chase, joined as always by Agri-Pulse's Phil Brasher, as well as Iowa Senator Joni Ernst, joining us this week to discuss all things COVID relief, RFS, all kinds of fun stuff for us to discuss here. And I jokingly, in the pre-interview interview for this, jokingly said I was going to do this, but it is currently 2:02 on Thursday afternoon, and it is a lot of moving parts going on with the COVID relief picture. So with that specific timing and preface, I'll ask you, Senator, as we sit here and explore what we know about the agricultural provisions in this upcoming COVID relief package, what do we know and what are we waiting to learn at this point?
Right. We are looking at an overall package of $20 billion specifically for ag that would be discretionary for the Secretary of Agriculture, Sonny Perdue, to use as supports for our farmers and ranchers. So that is an important provision. We have been working on that dollar amount and then the things that could be covered. Again, a lot of discretion left for the Secretary, which we think is a very good thing because it does open avenues for things like our biofuels, something that I am very proud to support.
Well, senators, tell us, ethanol was the House bill that passed back in May, authorized assistance for ethanol producers, also addressed the indemnification of poultry and pork producers. How is that going to be addressed in this Senate bill? What are we going to see in there?
Well, again, there are so many things that are allowed for the Secretary to do with these dollars. So we think it's really good. It provides an avenue for the Secretary to look across the spectrum at all of the different sectors within agriculture and then make appropriate payments out to those industries, those farmers, those producers, and we think that is a great way to go. So again, I've been lobbying very, very hard to make sure that we have supports for renewables fuels, but specifically the ethanol industry, because they have been hit very hard with the decline in the driving season.
Right. I want to look ahead for a second. We're a little bit beyond this particular bill and the additional $20 billion that you have earmarked here. Secretary Perdue said just recently that he doesn't think another market facilitation program will be needed this year. Trade assistance they did in 2018 and 2019. But all the economic forecasts are saying these lower commodity prices are going to persist into the foreseeable future, well into next year and beyond. How is that? Is this going to be enough? And what can Congress look at? What is Congress going to need to look at beyond this bill right now?
Well, as a young girl who was raised in a family farm in Southwest Iowa and still live in that community today, I hear from my family members, I hear from my neighbors about the hurts that are going on within agriculture right now. And so I think it is important as we are looking forward, take that data and really understand the data that we are getting in. So we know that our grain prices are very low. We know there's volatility in the livestock industry. All of those things are really hurting our farmers and ranchers. So I think these decisions need to be data driven. And if the necessity for additional payments is there, then we need to follow through with that. Now, going beyond that and looking to the future, there is a lot of opportunity for our agricultural commodities as we look around the globe. So not only are we feeding and fueling our own country, but we need to look at opportunities that exist outside of the United States. So we have a great opportunity with USMCA. I'm so thankful that that's in place, but we need to really push on China for that phase one China deal. Make sure that they are standing up and living up to their obligations. But then as well, the other opportunities that our Ambassador Lighthizer, the U.S. trade rep, is working on, we need to seal those deals, get them done. Our farmers want trade, not aid.
Are you going to have to authorize different additional payments, though, later this year or 2021?
If the data comes back that those are necessary, we will certainly work with the administration to make sure that our farmers and ranchers are being supported. It is important. We've seen a decline again with ethanol in the driving season. That's less of a demand for our corn. I mean, it's just everything is interconnected within our rural communities and our agricultural communities. And so, again, being data-driven, making sure we understand the economic injuries that have happened across rural America, and then finding a way to be supportive. But in the long term, making sure that we can work our way out of this situation, because my farmers don't want to live off of the federal government. They appreciate the helping hand, but certainly they want to be able to grow a crop, raise an animal, and know that will go to market. We will support someone in need, a family that needs to eat, or a family that needs to drive their vehicle, and have that commodity actually serving its purpose. Farmers feel
one other issue that you've been involved with in the last few days, actually, and that's a lot of concern about our essential workers in food and agriculture and beyond, and healthcare and so forth. How are you going to, do you think you can address that, their concerns in this bill?
And I do have a proposal that I have pushed forward. I've talked to the administration, so the president, vice president, and economic advisor Larry Kudlow. And what my bill would do is called the Frontline Act, but it really helps those that have worked through the pandemic, the frontline workers, by giving them a payroll tax or income tax holiday. And that would start at the beginning of April and then go at the most through the end of this year, so through December 31st. But our grocers, our truck drivers, our farmers, our nurses, all of those folks that have worked through the pandemic, they have been providing for all of us, keeping our economy and our families comfortable through the COVID-19 pandemic. I really think that we should reward them. I respect them so much, and they are very deserving of this opportunity.
So a very targeted payroll tax.
Very targeted.
Tax code.
Mm-hmm.
Senator, I want to wrap up asking about a subject that you're certainly no stranger to, and neither is your home state, and that's biofuels and the general governance of the renewable fuel standard. There's been no shortage of issues between Capitol Hill and the Trump administration EPA on that subject for the last few years. But we saw some reporting earlier this month, and that reporting seems to be supported by just the lack of renewable volume obligations that we've seen from the Environmental Protection Agency so far this year. Reporting suggested that potentially those RVOs might have to wait until after the election. I'm wondering, from your perspective as someone who represents a state where biofuels are a very big deal, what are the potential, Tuesday in November implications of such a decision of sitting on such a critical piece of ethanol policy?
Well, we really want to see those obligations come forward. We want to know what those numbers are. That is critical because our farmers and our ethanol producers, they need certainty, and they have not had it over this last year. So we are pushing back on those gap year waivers that have now become a thing after our 10th Circuit decision on the RFS. So we are pushing back against those. The EPA wants to wait until after the election for those the volume obligations to come out. We don't agree with that. We do think that, again, certainty is needed. So those farmers can plan, they can prepare, they can look ahead. But certainly what we want to stress, though, is that through this administration, there have been a number of significant steps forward. E15 year round. We've, through my efforts as well, been able to kill the export RIN. We have eliminated the cap on RIN that was proposed by others. So there are a number of things that we have been able to do and move ahead within the RFS, even having significant pushback from the oil industry. So just very thankful the administration has been acting on a number of very positive steps, but we need them to keep making those positive steps. So we'll continue pushing the administration, and especially Administrator Wheeler, when it comes to upholding the spirit and intent of the RFS law.
And not trying to be flippant with this question at all, but we've seen a wide variety of issues going back to the Obama administration's governance of the RFS. Sat on the RVOs for a little while at one point in that administration too. We're seeing similar actions, similar frustrations with the Trump administration. Is the certainty and predictability that you talk about, is that a realistic expectation with the nation's biofuel policy at this point?
It is realistic, and that is when we have an administration that is following the law. And through the Trump administration, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but they have been releasing those RVOs. They have been releasing those. This is now a time when they've decided to wait on that. But throughout the first 3 years, I would say, of the Trump administration, he's been very intent on delivering for our farmers and for our ethanol producers. Now there is wrangling going on between the administration, between Congress and the EPA. So I will be making a call to President Trump, just reminding him, who's in charge of the EPA. Is it the president? Is it the administrator? But we certainly need the administrator to follow the intent of the law. So we will continue pressing on that issue, and hopefully we can continue to see great strides forward with ethanol and biofuels as a whole.
So going into this week, we knew it was going to be a busy one with Congress returning and with coronavirus aid legislation on the agenda. I think I can speak for everyone on this call when I say the busyness of this week has lived up to the billing, and there's still some things to watch here in the rest of this week and certainly into next. And Senator Ernst, we appreciate you stopping by and joining us to discuss them.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the time today. Everybody stay safe and stay strong.
For Senator Joni Ernst and Phil Brasher, I'm Spencer Chase. Have a good one.